why do relationships fail? A lot of times I feel like people try to depend on someone else to fill a void in their life, right? It's like you might be lonely, you might be, whatever void that you have, and we think it takes another person to complete us. And I talked about this a lot throughout the years, and I believe it's true. I don't think a person should complete you. And I know that sounds crazy, but I don't think that's true. I think when you're dependent on a person to complete you, that means that you aren't completely whole. That means that it's avoiding your life, right? It might still be an insecurity of your past. It might be, things you haven't dealt with, and you're dependent on that person to fill that spot. I think that you should come complete. I think that you should work on who you are, understand who you are, and you guys add to each other's completeness. Another thing that I saw that I want to touch on is lack of communication. I think that's very, very important. And I want to be clear about this, not just communication, right? Of course, we have the word communication. You can have communication in a terrible way. But I feel like when you take it a step deeper, right, we talk about lack of communication. But what I think that's even more important than lack of communication is lack of connection. And for me, connection is a deeper form of communication. Connection means that in that communication, you're 100% attentive to what that person is saying, right? You don't have your phone out. You're not distracted by the TV. I feel like we don't have enough undivided attention communication, which leads to connection. And, I feel like social media, I feel like technology is making that very hard for people to really be connected. Person to talk about whatever. A lot of times it's the phone that we're on, right? We're spending time on our phone. We're spending time, scrolling. We're spending time on social media and things like that. So I think it's about connection. And where you don't have connection, right, there's no power. And it's like the analogy I use is always like plugging something in, like I can't illuminate the darkness without a connection. And so I feel like in relationships, a lot of times it is lack of communication, because communication is big, but even deeper, it's lack of connection. There's a void in the relationship, right? And that void doesn't just disappear, but that void from lack of communication is filled with assumptions, right? It's filled with, it's filled with assumptions. And you start to assume like, oh, what is this person doing? Or this person doesn't love me or whatever. And then assumptions are terrible in relationships, because usually assumptions, they may be right at times, but usually they're wrong. And a lot of people build their whole relationship off of assumptions because they don't communicate with each other, don't connect with each other. And so the question I want to ask people in relationships, or if you're not in a relationship, like, when's the last time you had like no distraction connection? No distraction connection. With not worried about anything else. When's the last time you talked about like goals with each other? When's the last time you talked about like each other's goals? Like, I see that so many times in my relationship. I try to make it a point to make sure that I listen to my wife's goals, to make sure that I bring her goals out of her, to make sure that she knows that I support her. And what I mean by support, not just, being there for her, but also letting her know that I'm super interested in the things that excite her. I'm super interested in her growing, in her meeting her potential, because in a relationship, when that other person is thriving, is, when they have a goal to reach, when they're growing, when they're meeting their potential, it's incredible. It makes the relationship better. And I don't, when I talk to people about their relationships all the time, like, I feel like that's one of the main things that's missing. Like, they never talk about, they just live life. Like, it's like the Matrix. Every single day is just a routine. And when you get in a routine in your relationship, I feel like that's, one of many things that cause a relationship to fail, because it becomes boring, right? There's no excitement. There's nothing new, right? It's the same old, and you're not excited. If a person doesn't want to communicate, your relationship will fail. I can just be real with you. It'll fail at some point, or it won't be fulfilled. It'll be miserable. You won't be happy. Okay. And this takes knowing the person that you're with, right? Like, how do they respond, right? How can I communicate effectively with that person? Like, there's ways to communicate with me. That's just me. And everybody is different when it comes to relationships. So the first thing I would do is I would show appreciation to that person. I would let that person know, because a lot of times when we try to communicate with our significant other, we attack them. And when a person is being attacked, you know what? They become defensive, period. It's the human nature. If you feel attacked, you're going to become defensive. So if you want to communicate or place a concern, like, make sure the environment promotes that, right? Make sure they don't feel like they're being attacked. And so how I would talk to that person, I would go to them with appreciation. This is any conversation with me, for anybody. I will go to them in appreciation, right? To let them know, like, here, I'm not here to attack you. I'm not here to bring you down. But I want to let you know how much I appreciate you as a person and what you've done for this family, what you've done for me, X, Y, Z. Then I would reassure them that, you know, hey, I want the best for you. I want the best for us. I'm in this together. And then I would place my concern then, because then when you place your concern, they're in a better place to receive it, and you're in a better place to give it. It's something I've talked about a lot on here, and I will continue to talk about that when it comes to effective communication. I think that's a big key in communicating, because a lot of people, they don't do that. They come communicate in anger, frustration. I get it. You might be mad and upset, but coming to a person like that won't do anything to progress the situation, right? It won't be effective in progressing the situation. And so even if you got to take a step back, and so you got to ask yourself, okay, well, how do they respond? And so any person I talk to and I communicate with, I try to communicate with them in a way that they will respond, if that makes any sense. The thing that I see a lot too is a lot of blame. Like, I just feel like in a relationship, you have to take responsibility for yourself, right? And that doesn't mean that, you know, maybe you have, right? But I think that's the first step, is taking responsibility. And that's not in every situation, but it's about taking responsibility. Like, I see a lot of, like, pointing fingers so much, and pointing fingers will not help anything. I can just tell you that right now. Selfishness will not create togetherness. And that's another reason why relationships fail, because we become selfish as people. We make it all about ourselves, what they're not giving me, you know, or what they're not doing. They're not doing this. They, but you never address you, you know? So that's a form of selfishness. So if you never address yourself in the situation, then you might be the problem. And that doesn't apply to everything, because y'all about to kill me in the comments, but it's just real. Like, you got to address yourself too. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong, but it's like, okay, well, even if it's somebody not communicating, right? It's like, well, what am I doing that's making them not want to communicate with me? And it might not be nothing you're doing, but at least you ask yourself that question, right? It might be the way you're trying to communicate. It might be you're always yelling and bringing that person down and not showing any appreciation. The only time you talk to them is when you're bringing them down, right? You never communicate love. You never communicate respect. You never communicate appreciation, but you always communicate complaints. And so maybe that's why they don't want to communicate with you. And this is not every situation, so don't start getting mad, because I know some of y'all, like, don't start getting mad. But it's just serious. Like, maybe you need to be more diverse in your communication. If all you want to talk about is problems, then I wouldn't want to talk neither, to be honest with you. So that's one of the things that I always see blame. And if you're in a relationship that you really want to make work and that person wants to make it work, blame is the wrong thing to do. You know, so when I coach people, I tell people all the time, okay, tell me what you did wrong without even mentioning anything with them. Tell me what you could do better. Right? I don't even say wrong. Tell me what you can do better. That's how we start the conversation. Now we're focused on solutions instead of focused on the problem. Right? And like I said, it differs for different situations. But I just feel like if you're in a relationship, it's not about proving the other person wrong. Like, what's the point of proving them wrong if it's still not making the situation right? In my relationship, no outside factors control our relationship. It doesn't. You know, we have conversations about it. People offer opinions all the time, and we will assess the opinions, but our relationship is our relationship. We've created our own little world, and that's what matters. So if outsiders are influencing your relationship, it's an inside problem, if that makes any sense. And I can't tell you how to fix it, because I don't know exactly, you know, your situation or what's going on. Like, I want y'all to think a deeper form of communication, like connection right? Connection and understanding. Like, you can communicate anything. Like, I can communicate whatever right now. But if there's no understanding there, the communication is almost pointless. I feel like when it comes to everything, like support, I feel like you should be your significant other's biggest supporter, biggest cheerleader. It doesn't have to be publicly all the time, but they should know that at the end of the day, you want them to win more than anything else, right? You want them to be better more than anything else, right? They shouldn't have to go outside of your house to find support, to find encouragement, to find whatever, happiness, anything like that. And I think, once somebody starts to go outside their house to find that, of course, that's when the relationship is ruined, period. I'm not a relationship expert. I'm not the people who call themselves that. I'm just sharing what has worked for me, right? I'm not a relationship expert or anything like that. I'm not an expert at anything. So I'm just like you, right? Just living life and giving you suggestions on what works for me. But if I was just coming off the top of my head to think about like how to make your relationship stronger, we talked about connection, right? Which is a deeper form of communication. We said communicate to understand, communicate to connect, right? We talked, I think that's one. I think two is keep it exciting, right? I feel like anything in life, when it becomes boring, I feel like time shouldn't kill your relationship. It should strengthen it. So you got to get creative, right? It's not like, it's crazy how we'll do something for a person when we first meet them, but then as we get comfortable, we stop doing those things. No, keep the excitement up. I always say never stop dating. If you're married, yeah, do that often, right? Keep the excitement up. Have fun. Be spontaneous. All of those things. I think that's two. I think three is be each other's bigger supporter. Like, you should be uplifting them, encouraging them. You should be talking about their goals. Be interested in what they got going on. That's what I said. A form of selfishness is when we only think that it only matters about what we got going on. We want everybody to support us. We want everybody to care about us, but we don't give that same support. So be interested in what they have going on. Talk to your significant other about their goals, their dreams. Like, pull it out of them. Be their coach, right? Because when they win, you win. The relationship wins. So I think three, be their support system. I think four, this really should be one. You got to keep God first, man. You got to keep God first. You got to keep that relationship, especially if you're a believer, like rooted in faith, man, because faith is what keeps us going as human beings. Faith is what's going to keep your relationship going. No relationship is perfect. You're going to have trials. You're going to have tribulations. You're going to have bumps in the road, all those things. But God brought you together for a reason. If God brought you together, because these days people be saying, this is the man God had for me, the woman God had for me. No, that's a whole nother story. That'd be the one that you have for you. Your loneliness have for you. Every man that you meet ain't the one that God has for you. Every woman that you meet ain't the one. Like, it shouldn't be 10, this is the person God has for me. Like, if that's the case in your life, you need to do some soul searching, right? Sit down for a minute, figure it out. But keeping God first is totally important. That's number one. And just build your own little world. Like, stop letting outsiders control your relationship. Like, stop letting opinions control your, how many opinions there are in my marriage from the outside world? It's so many opinions. And we just laugh at it, honestly. We sit there and we read comments and we laugh. We really do. Because it's so funny. It's like when people tell me, you should have married someone else or whatever. And I'm just laughing because I'm like, you just wasted whatever, 5 seconds or 10 minutes, whatever of your day to tell me what I should be doing. And I'm not going to be listening to you at all. Clearly, I did what I wanted to do. That's who my heart wanted. And I think too many times we pay attention to people's opinions, and people who have nothing to do with your relationship, we pay attention to those people, right? Even with me, I tell people all the time, like, don't let me make a decision for you. Like, I'm just giving you guys advice. Like, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, if it's abuse, whatever, I'm just giving you suggestions, but I don't have to live with your decision. I want relationships to work. I want you guys to figure it out. I want you to strengthen because relationships are beautiful. Marriage is beautiful. But what happens is we let all these external things that really don't matter become factors in our lives, right? Finances, like I get it, it matters, but it's external. We let finances control our relationship, right? We let people control our relationship. All these things. And in 5, I would say, like, you know, turn up a notch. Don't let time like make you turn down. Make time make you turn up a notch. It should excite you. It should fill you up to see the person that you're with excited. Like, you should be addicted to that feeling. You should be addicted to seeing them smile. You should be addicted to surprising them, right? You should be addicted to lighting their day up. It should light you up to light them up. So that's my advice for today. I hope it helps somebody out there, future relationships, in your relationship. And, you know, why they fail is because of those things we talked about, you know. And I always say there's root issues. Like, we can talk about surface level issues, like it failed because this person did this. But I always say, okay, why did that person do that? Like, where did that come from? Like, where did it come from? So it's about the root issues that we have to attack to be able to solve those surface level problems that we always see with relationships. What's wrong with people's opinions? You had from people you respect people's opinions, because you can't give an opinion on something that you don't know. So like, that's like, right, as far as like, that's like you telling me, right, about like who I need to, like, I'm just using you for example, like what I need to do with my life as far as if you know anything about my life, right? Even when I talk to you guys, it's suggestions, and I get it. Like, if you're telling me I don't need to be with this person and you have no idea like about the relationship at all, then at the end of the day, it's like, I don't have to accept that. Yes, maybe you should hear everybody out. I don't know, but I don't. Period. I have a wise counsel that I respect. So people who know my situation, people who know both of us, people who know whatever, like, I listen to that counsel before I go anywhere else. So you don't need to listen to everybody. Like, that's in life. That's the way I feel. And like I said, everybody's different, but I don't listen to everybody's opinion. I don't. Like I said, you have the people you respect, the counsel you respect, and you go from there. But I mean, hey, if it works for you, do it. Like I tell everybody else, whatever works for your life, go do it. Feel free. Everybody's different. Yeah, I just say respected opinions, right? Respected opinions. So you got to have your counsel of people you respect that you can go to, that you know is not going to be biased. And sometimes that is a stranger, right? It could be a stranger. So, but when saying everybody's, that's a big pool of people. But I think it's beautiful when you can work it out. Honestly, like, I think it's beautiful when you don't have to go outside, but you can work it out. I think that's a strong relationship. Like, when you can really talk it out, you can, you know, it's selflessness in the relationship where you can talk it out, where you want to see each other win, where you actually really want to fix the problem because y'all care about each other that much, or fix the situation. I think that's a beautiful place to be at. And I'm not saying that you don't need outside opinions or outside counsel, but I'm just saying if you can work on it yourselves and really fix it, or move towards fixing the problem or the issue, that's beautiful. I feel like you shouldn't always have to run outside of your relationship to fix your relationship. That's a problem. I feel like that. Like, you shouldn't have to run to your mama and your daddy about your relationship all the time. Like, that's a problem. Let's go.